Let's tell the truth that no one wants to admit. Some of us have lived entire seasons of our lives on our knees, begging for love, for dignity, for a little damn peace. And one day, we just stop. We stand. And when we do, people call us difficult, cold, too much. But maybe, just maybe, it's because they're terrified of what a standing spirit looks like. I remember a woman I met at a grief retreat. Let's call her Maria. She had this softness about her, like the world had been trying to break her for so long that she learned to bend before it even asked. She spoke with this trembling kindness, and before every sentence, without fail, she'd say, "I'm sorry. I'm sorry I talk too much. I'm sorry I shouldn't be crying. I'm sorry I'm taking up your time." It was as if she felt the need to apologize for her own breath, for the sound of her voice, for occupying space in the world. And as I listened to her, something deep inside me ached because I saw myself in her. I saw all the times I too had softened my voice, swallowed my truth, or shrunk my presence because I believed that was what made me worthy of belonging. I saw the quiet, devastating ways we, especially as women, are taught to believe that being small is being good, that being invisible is being kind, that being silent is being strong. Maria told me about how, for years, she had kept the peace in her family, how she said yes when she meant no, how she stayed in a marriage where she felt unseen because I didn't want to hurt him. She had spent decades bowing in spirit, hoping that if she could just be agreeable enough, easy enough, quiet enough, maybe then she'd be safe. Maybe then she'd finally be loved the way she longed to be. She said, and I think that's what so many of us do, isn't it? We make ourselves small and we call it kindness. We silence ourselves and we call it love. But what it really is erasure. And the brutal psychological truth is this: when you spend your life apologizing for existing, you start to disappear. Not all at once. It happens slowly, so quietly that you don't even notice. Until one day, you look in the mirror and you don't recognize yourself. That day at the retreat, Maria cried and said, "I don't want to say sorry anymore. I don't want to feel like I have to earn my place here." And you know what? That was her first act of standing. It wasn't loud. It wasn't dramatic. It was just one woman deciding, I'm done begging for permission to be here. And I looked her in the eyes and said the words I wish someone had said to me. Your life is not an apology. It's a declaration. You don't have to shrink to be loved. You don't have to bow to be safe. You're already worthy, exactly as you are. That's the day Maria stopped apologizing for existing. And maybe today is the day you stop too. There was a night I don't talk about often, not because I'm ashamed of it, but because the memory still tastes bitter in my mouth. It was the night I realized the people I had spent years trying to please, the ones I had bent over backward for, weren't clapping for me. They were clapping for the version of me that made their lives easier. The version of me that stayed quiet when I wanted to speak. The version of me that said yes when my whole soul was screaming no. The version that bowed so low, I almost forgot how it felt to stand. I had just done something I thought was small, but in their eyes, it was unforgivable. I said no. Just that, no. No to the request that crossed a boundary I hadn't even known I was allowed to have. No to giving what I no longer had left in me. No to pretending I was okay with being treated like I didn't matter. And when I said no, something shattered. I expected disappointment, maybe some anger, but what I got was silence. Cold, empty, bone-deep silence. The calls stopped, the text dried up, The invitations vanished. I sat in my kitchen that night, the house so still it felt like the walls were holding their breath. And I realized the love I thought I had, the friendship, the loyalty, the belonging, it was conditional. Conditional on my bowing, conditional on my playing my part. That silence, it felt like abandonment, but it was actually truth. It was life pulling back the curtain and showing me what was real. In psychology, this moment is called role betrayal. The instant you stop playing the role others expect, and in doing so, you threaten the balance that keeps them comfortable. And what happens next is as predictable as gravity. They pull away, not because you wronged them, but because you stopped wronging yourself for them. I sat there that night thinking, is this what standing feels like? This lonely, this terrifying? But what I've come to understand is this. Standing doesn't create loneliness. It exposes the loneliness that was already there. The loneliness of being surrounded by people who never truly saw you, just the role you played for them. And here's the soul-deep truth I want you to hear. When they leave because you stood, let them. Let them walk away, let the silence come. Because your spirit was never meant to kneel for their comfort. And standing alone for your truth is infinitely more sacred than bowing together in your betrayal. I want to tell you about a message I got one night after a talk I gave on boundaries. It was from a woman I'd never met, but her words felt like they came straight from the heart of every person who's ever been afraid to stand. She wrote, "Brene, I want to stop shrinking. I want to stop bowing to what's killing my spirit. But what if I stand and end up alone?" I sat with that message for a long time because I knew exactly what she meant. That fear, that bone-deep terror, that if you finally choose yourself, if you finally stand tall, the world will turn its back on you. That fear whispers, you'll lose everyone. No one will stay. You'll be left standing in the ruins of what used to be your life. I've felt it. Oh, have I felt it. The nights lying awake, staring at the ceiling, wondering if my courage was going to cost me every connection I had. I remember the silence that followed when I stopped being the yes girl. When I stopped bending to keep the peace. I remember watching friendships I thought were unshakable crack and crumble because I stopped playing small. Here's what we rarely say out loud. Standing up for yourself can be lonely at first because it forces you to see who was really with you and who was just with the version of you that served them. And that's brutal because we want so badly to believe that love is unconditional, that our place in people's lives is secure. But often it's not. Often it's transactional, and when the transaction changes, when you stop bowing, when you stop giving what empties you out, the relationship changes too. But this is what I want to tell you, with all the warmth and raw truth I can give, standing does not leave you lonely forever. It leaves you lonely for a while because it clears out the people who were never truly for you. It creates space for the real ones, the ones who love you not because you bow, but because you're brave enough to stand. Psychology calls this authentic belonging, when connection comes not from who you pretend to be, but from who you truly are. And authentic belonging is rarer, but it's deeper. It's worth the wait. So if you're afraid that standing will leave you alone, I get it. That fear is valid. But I promise you this. It is better to stand in truth alone for a season than to bow in betrayal with a crowd for a lifetime. The loneliness won't last, but the peace that comes from standing, that's forever. I want to talk about something we're taught to fear, something we're taught to shove down, to lock away, to deny even to ourselves. Rage. Not the kind that lashes out to wound or destroy. I'm talking about sacred rage. The fire that rises in your chest the moment you finally see the ways you've been silenced, dismissed, used, or made small. The rage that doesn't burn things down, but burns things clear. I remember the first time I truly felt it. I was sitting across from someone I had tried so hard to please, someone I had bent over backwards for, softened myself for, shrunk myself for, just to earn scraps of their approval. And they looked me dead in the eye and acted like I didn't matter, like my pain was inconvenient, like my boundaries were offensive. And I felt it, this heat rising in me. At first, I tried to swallow it, to smile through it, because we're taught that good people, especially good women, don't get angry. We're taught that rage means we're out of control, that it makes us dangerous. But what I've learned, what psychology confirms, and what my spirit knows, is that sacred rage is not the enemy. Suppressing it is. That rage, it's a signal, a sacred signal that says enough, no more. It's the moment your spirit refuses to kneel 1 second longer. I see this in so many women, so many men too, but especially women, who've spent years bowing until one day something happens. A betrayal, a final straw, a moment that snaps them awake. And they feel that fire. And they're terrified of it, but here's the truth, no one tells you. Sacred rage isn't what will break you. Sacred rage isn't what will break you. It's what will build you. It's what fuels the standing spirit. It's the energy that lets you finally draw the line, finally say the no, finally claim the yes that's yours. That rage, it's not about revenge. It's not about destruction. It's about resurrection. As Audre Lorde said, words that have saved me more times than I can count. My anger has meant pain to me, but it has also meant survival. So if you feel that fire in your chest, that sacred rage rising when you realize all the ways you've been made to bow, don't fear it, don't fight it, let it fuel you, let it stand you up. Because sometimes the fire is what reminds you that you're still alive and still worth the fight. Let me tell you about the strongest people I know. They're not always the loud ones. They're not the ones who win every argument or command every room. No, the strongest people I know are the ones who, when the storm comes, stay upright. When life rips through their world like a hurricane. When the people they counted on walk away. When their heart gets shattered. When the ground beneath them falls apart. They don't bow to despair. They don't collapse into bitterness. They don't give their spirit over to hopelessness. I think of a woman I met after a talk. She came up to me, and there was this quiet steadiness about her. She'd been through hell, and I mean hell. Her marriage had ended after years of betrayal. She lost her job in the same month. And to top it off, she was fighting a diagnosis that left her exhausted every single day. And yet, there she was, upright, present. She said to me, "I didn't know I was this strong, but here I am. I'm still standing." And I remember thinking, this is what true power looks like. It's not flashy. It's not about having all the answers. It's about refusing to let the storm inside you destroy the spirit that keeps you standing. You see, psychology teaches us something powerful here. Resilience isn't about never falling. It's not about never breaking down. It's about how you get back up. It's about the quiet decision you make in the darkest night of your soul. The decision to keep standing, even when everything in you wants to give up. And here's the part no one talks about. Standing doesn't always feel victorious. Sometimes standing feels like trembling. Sometimes standing means you're crying while you do it. Sometimes standing means you're barely holding it together, but you're holding it. Some awesome, successful people suffer, but for some, alone, wrong, or simply dying more than anything else. Some awesome, successful people suffer, but for some, alone, wrong, more than anything else. I want to be like your son. I want to be a good person. You're holding you. What I've learned and what I want you to know is this: a standing spirit doesn't mean the storm didn't hit, it means it didn't win. And maybe that's where the deepest power lives, not in the moments where we roar, but in the moments where we whisper to ourselves, I will not bow to this. I will not let this break who I am. So when the storm comes, and it will come, remember, standing is not about perfection. It's about dignity. It's about courage. It's about choosing over and over to stay upright, even when the wind tries to bend you. Because a standing spirit, that's unbreakable. She doesn't bow because she knows who she is. And when you know who you are, you stop living on your knees.